We're just half cast talking about your favorite movies on your new favorite podcast. And we're talking about the movie cast. We have fun and we love our friends. Hey guys, welcome to the Half-Cast Movie Cast podcast, episode 1, I think. And I'm Benny, the hesitant artiste.
I'm Julius, the jock.
I am Ravi, the assistant to the regional manager.
I'm Tom, and
And we are the Half-Cast Movie Cast podcast.
Yeah.
Fun.
How are you guys feeling?
Good. I'm ready to talk about movies.
For the first time, this is not our second recording where we discarded the first one.
What is a recording?
Yeah, what is a recording? What is this? I don't know what this is. Just some metal kind of device in front of me.
It's called a top lap.
I don't.
I thought we were just grabbing a coffee and talking about movies. No one said anything about recordings.
No one said anything about recording anything, right? Yeah, we're going to start with some news items. I'm just going to go through some news that's been happening lately. Christopher Nolan opted to buy a real 747 instead of using a miniature plane or CGI in Tenet because it was actually more efficient after running the numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. It stays true to his character. He would hardly use CGI in any of his film. If you can film it practical, then it's all good. He won't use any.
Yeah, there was
computers.
that thing in Interstellar where he bought a field or something. He bought the field that they drove through because and then he got a profit from that field to help fund his movie.
That scene in Dark Knight where the truck is pulled forward and it goes from the back, comes all the way up, and then it crashes forward. That's all practical. I mean, there was nothing CGI about it. It's so crazy.
They just crashed a truck, flipped it over.
Yeah, flipped it over. That's the word. Sorry, I'm half Spanish. I speak multiple languages.
Yeah.
So Christopher Nolan is secretly a billionaire and just buys a whole bunch of stuff for his movies. How rich is Christopher Nolan? That's the next question we need to ask.
Well, it depends how much the studio gives him.
He's rich in creativity.
He's richer than Batman himself.
The other thing about Tenet is it still going to be released on the 17th of July, which would make it the first movie to be released after this whole pandemic.
I think that it's funny because there's been a little bit of backlash on Reddit, I feel, with like Nolan and stuff where they say he's like because he still wants to have this big blockbuster, but he knows what's going on, sort of thing, with the whole coronavirus and COVID-19 thing. So it's like, how are you going to fill theaters like that soon after this has happened?
Yeah,
and he's clashing with Warner Brothers because if Warner Brothers want to confidently move forward with this release, they need about like 80% of the world theaters to open.
Yeah,
but a lot of the states are closing down their theaters until like August, September. So it's like,
I think he's dreaming, mate. I think he's dreaming.
Yeah, I think he's dreaming. I think he's like trying to plan a dream, actually. That's a good idea. That should be an idea for a movie.
Oh, that's a great idea for a movie. Yeah,
planning dreams.
Because the second trailer came out recently, right? It came out like last week, and I'm not sure if they changed the date on that particular trailer. I think they're still pushing for that.
Nah, they're really optimistic, eh?
Yeah.
It's
an amazing trailer, by the way. Like, not that many studios would trust a director with creative control over the trailers. It's amazing. It's probably one of my favorite trailers I've ever seen. Sorry, Biddy.
Yeah, you're saying sorry to me because I don't watch trailers anymore. But I'm actually like, I'll go into that movie knowing nothing. So I
except for a 747.
Except there's a 747 in it somewhere, a real one.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, I watched that trailer and I still don't know what the movie is about. So.
Me too, dude. Like,
those are the best trailers that there are.
Crazy. Like after watching it, I was like, oh, so it's a comedy? I didn't know what.
You mean they didn't tell the entire story in the trailer? What?
Like, oh man, they didn't even give us like plot points or anything. I'm sure maybe they did. It's just like, it would pass my head.
Didn't reveal the major twist.
Didn't even reveal the major characters actually.
Yeah, that's what trailers are these days.
That's crazy. I mean, guessing that they gave it to Christopher Nolan to do, he probably was real picky with what he put in there. Like he put pickles in there. That's what I'm.
Yeah, he put some pickles in there, like a Big Mac.
Spoilers, I haven't seen the trailer yet, man.
People are looking for Easter eggs. He actually put an egg in there, like an Easter egg.
It was actually filmed over Easter. That's what made it an Easter egg.
Yeah. Josh Gad is hosting a Lord of the Rings reunion this Sunday with Peter Jackson, Sir Ian McKellen, Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Andy Serkis, Sean Bean, and more. That is the Lord of the Rings cast. And that will be something that's already passed by the time this podcast comes out. But yeah, I think Julius will be excited in particular about that one.
I was following Josh Gad's YouTube channel because he's done a lot of those reunions with movies and people like Tom Hanks and Splash and stuff like that.
Right.
And then he did an announcement that he was going to do Lord of the Rings. But all of the actors for Lord of the Rings are notorious for not coming together for reunions or like panel stuff like that. It's notorious. And so I was like, they're probably just going to get Sean Astin and Frodo. Next minute, the promo video, which is like an hour long, has all of the hobbits plus Orlando Bloom. And then they end it with Gandalf. And then they promo a pic of the whole cast of Lord of the Rings zooming together, talking about the experience, including Peter Jackson. He has aged so much, like in that picture.
He looks old, right?
Yeah, he's poor dude. I think he's been smoking too much mushrooms.
Yeah.
Is he still living in Hobbiton?
It's because he's from New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, because he's a Kiwi. Racist.
Yeah.
Cate Blanchett.
I'm really excited for it.
Cate Blanchett, speaking of Lord of the Rings, Cate Blanchett officially signs on to play Lilith in Eli Roth's Borderlands movie.
I don't know anything to do with Borderlands. Is that game?
Borderlands, yeah, it's like a MMO shooter game, I think. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Borderlands?
Nah, I never actually played that game, man.
Oh, yeah. I think people are a little bit, like, mad about this one. I saw some reactions on Twitter where they're like, are you serious? Because, I don't know, I think they don't see Cate Blanchett as that sort of... I think the character's like a punky, sort of athletic style character, and they're just like, really? Is this a joke? Are you going to take this back? Cate Blanchett, really? But, like, because I think they perceive her as being quite... I don't know how old she is. Like, is she in her 40s or something?
Early 40s?
Yeah.
Do you reckon she'll do like a Charlize Theron sort of Mad Max take on the character, or like maybe
Hella's probably the most similar character I can think of, but I know nothing about border gangs.
I think like the character, like from what I looked at the like character design, it's like some spunky young kind of. You remember that that girl from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, April?
Oh, April.
Like that style of character, but she seems to radiate some sort of like teenage energy or something. It's so like I don't think that when you start thinking of that like Cate Blanchett, it's like okay, she seems like a bit older because even like when she played the villain, whoever in Thor Ragnarok, she still did have that kind of like I'm a bit older energy, but it was not. It was like elegant and stuff, but like. Yeah, anyway, I feel a bit weird talking about this anyway, so...
So the studio didn't opt to get Megan Fox even though she was too old to play April O'Neil in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
I mean, isn't April O'Neil supposed to be like a teen in those ones?
Yeah, something like that. I haven't watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a while.
Adult Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that film. But if anyone's seen The Lighthouse, I've seen it. It was pretty good, but... The mermaid carving from The Lighthouse realized $110,750 in an A24 charity auction. So it's just like this little wooden mermaid statuette from The Lighthouse brought in that amount of money. It's pretty crazy.
Shucks. Yeah, there's some collectors, man, who like where do they get that money from?
Yeah,
when they live in the garage.
Is it quite a significant part in the movie? Is that why they got it? Or
it is. It's like central. It's pretty central to the movie, and it's like some kind of omen that like draws one of the main characters in. So it's like got that kind of like if you have it, you have the omen that would like make him slightly mad. And I guess my final news point is Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho gets a April 2021 release date. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. I remember, Ravi, you liked Baby Driver, right, Ravi?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Baby Driver, and I just realized I watched one of his other films from the last time we talked. I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World. After
there
Baby
you go.
I really loved the editing and just the way he put it together. So, I mean, I haven't seen too many Edgar Wright properties, but and I don't know anything about this particular movie, but anything he does, he puts his unique spin on it. His editing is amazing. The use of sound and different things that is quite unique. So I'm pretty excited about that movie.
You should watch the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. If you've watched Baby Driver and if you've watched Scott Pilgrim and you like both of those, then you might as well watch his whole thing, because he's probably right in your kind of
absolutely
wheelhouse.
He seems like a good director to kind of watch. His films are quite, they have a standard and doesn't really do like movies that flop, I guess, in a sense.
I like telling people who want to look at like really eccentric directors who have like a really good eye for like transitions. Like if you want to watch a film that has good transitions, watch Scott Pilgrim. It's so creative how he like transitions through scenes like that. I still remember that scene where there's an alarm clock in his room and then it's some creative way that transitions to him coming to school. It's just like, man, it's so creative. I was so gutted he didn't get Ant-Man.
Yes, I mean, like part of his vision was still there, but like it would have been great to see his version on it. They could do like a What If. Yeah. I know they're doing the What If series at Marvel, so maybe they'll do Edgar Wright.
Why don't we just do a protest and say release the Edgar Wright cut?
Yeah.
Sign a petition, send some death threats to Kevin Feige.
Ravi's dark side comes out.
Please don't do that.
He's the one.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
It came out of your mouth, Ravi. So
we all know it was you.
It's
now,
on the
Ravi.
podcast now.
It's all your fault.
And I said that was my last news point, but something just came up. The Safdie brothers, who directed the films Uncut Gems and Good Time, just signed a 2-year deal with HBO and A24, I don't know, to make future film and TV projects. So I'm really happy about that, because those are two of my favorite directors working today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they do. Especially that, I think one of them's called, is he called Ben Safdie?
Ben Safdie.
Oh, man. Yeah. What kind of name is that? Oh.
Only the best. Only the best.
I haven't seen Uncut Gems, but it looks very promising for like Adam Sandler role. So I'm pretty keen to see what they have. And A24 is an amazing studio in terms of producing a lot of good content. So keen for that.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I remember looking on Twitter last night, and Uncut Gems was one of the biggest film viewers on Netflix. Like, has the highest viewing on Netflix. I might be wrong, but I remember reading that on Twitter last night.
No, that would be believable because it was exclusively released on Netflix, I think, for a while internationally, and then it got released to cinemas later. But yeah, I watched it on Netflix when it came out, and it's believable. Like, it's definitely their biggest film, I feel. Actually, I'm not sure about that, but I think so.
I just have to say, I think we're doing really well to this point. Like, there's no like kind of, pause moments. I think we're doing really well so far. So
nice, Ravi. Thank you.
There's still time.
We can still stuff it up.
Can we edit out the part where I said I'm sending death threats to? I'm not sending death threats to Kevin Feige.
I think that's good.
I feel like that's a character.
Yeah.
People need to see that's a good character development.
Over the course of the podcast, it'll make more sense.
Up to you in the end, but I mean, I found it funny. But
if Kevin Feige is watching this, I'm sorry. I love your movies, man.
If Kevin Feige is watching this, damn.
He will be. Yeah, he will be eventually.
It's because somebody is like showing it to him in court.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now we're going to go on to what we've watched recently. I watched a movie called The Gentleman. Has anyone heard of that?
Oh, yes.
Is that the ensemble cast?
Yeah, it's the one by Guy Ritchie. So yeah, the film was directed by Guy Ritchie, and it stars Matthew McConaughey and Colin Farrell, and it's like a little caper, fun little crime movie. I thought it was quite fun, a little bit obnoxious, but
it's like a British setting, right? Does Matthew McConaughey like speak British, or is he like still American?
I think he's American. I can't remember, but they were all so British. Like they play their Britishness up so much, like ridiculously so.
Because it's based on a true story, right?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Seems like a good story.
I was interested about the film only because it was Guy Ritchie, but his previous films, I was like, like I like his old stuff. What's his old stuff? Snatch, Lock, Stock, and Two the
Philosopher's Stone.
Two Smoking Barrels.
Sorry? Yeah, that one too. I like his old gangster, those ones, yeah. His previous films were that Jamie Foxx, King Arthur.
Did he do well?
He did that one, and I think he did Sherlock.
He also directed Aladdin.
Oh, yes, that's right, he did Aladdin. Those are the ones where I kind of was surprised at how good Aladdin was, but...
Guy Ritchie did Aladdin?
He's kind of a weird kind of Ron Howard type where he'll direct, like Ron Howard directed Rush and he directed Apollo 13. Is that the... 11? Apollo 11? No, I don't know.
No, Apollo 13, yeah, you're right.
We'll go with 12.
Yeah, we'll go with 12.
And then he goes on to direct, like, the Da Vinci Code and that Sea movie with Chris Hemsworth. So it's like,
oh, yeah,
it's so varied and weird.
Heart by the Sea? Is it Heart by the Sea?
Yeah, that one.
Actually, that Moby Dick movie, I quite liked that one. Yeah.
You did? I haven't seen it.
I'm sure you did, Tom.
I went for a long time. Wait, what do you mean, are you sure I liked that one?
No, I'm just saying...
Moby, what?
What?
I quite like Sherlock with I think it was Robert Downey and Jude Law. That was a good movie. I like the first one.
Yeah, I like the first one too.
Discombobulate.
But I did like Ed Harris. I don't know if his name's Ed Harris, the guy who played Moriarty in Part 2. Because I love my Shakespeare stories, and I've yet to find somebody who plays Moriarty with how I imagined him in the books. If you watch BBC's Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, that Moriarty is more quirky, more, I want to say campy. He's just more, like, I think they try to play him more as a Joker type character, like real chaotic. It was more chaotic than really mastermind, and I think the guy who played him in... It's
the priest from Fleabag, right? That's the guy that played Moriarty.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, the priest. The sexy priest. He was beautiful, man. Can we talk about that priest from Fleabag?
What is the gentleman about, Benny? Is it? I think it's something about. It's set in it's a timepiece, right? So set back in the days.
I can't remember the exact time period, but it is set in the space of mafia, and it's to do with fact and fiction and the difference between them and stuff. There's a guy pitching a screenplay. It's got a bunch of shooting and Pulp Fiction style monologues and stuff. So it's very kind of self-indulgent.
I mean, I enjoyed Pulp Fiction, so keen to watch that.
Julius, what have you seen lately?
I haven't seen anything new. The only thing I've been watching was TV. What We Do in the Shadows, season 2 is almost finished. I've yet to watch the last episode of Defending Jacob, which is episode 7 or 8, I think. So, yeah, I've only been watching TV. I haven't seen any movies recently. I'm still waiting because I want to go out and experience.
How is What We Do in the Shadows, season 2? Is it, I guess, better than the first season?
I think it is. I think they expand the world. It's such a clever show. It's what I fear for... I don't know. I'm sorry for bringing this up. It's what I fear that Space Office won't be able... Yeah. Oh, that one.
The Office of the Spaces.
Yeah, the Office of Space.
I did look at the... I mean, I don't know why I did this. I went on IMDb yesterday and I looked at the comments straight after it came out.
That.
I don't know why I did that, but the actual star rating on IMDb is pretty good.
Okay, that's good.
It sounded like it was going to take a downward turn, and you're like, and I'm depressed from now on.
Don't.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it'll probably be good. I don't have good feelings about it. I don't know why I brought it up when I'm talking about What We Do in the Shadows, but What We Do in the Shadows, it's amazing. I'll recommend it to anybody. It's such a smart show. If you really like comedy in the mundane, this is peak television right now. I think the following has grown huge, especially over the last couple of weeks. It's blowing up on Twitter. It's trending on Twitter. Even though it's competing against shows like that one with the Masked Singer and wrestling shows, NXT and AEW, it's still pulling great audiences, especially the younger demographic. So it's doing pretty well considering the competition. I'm super over the moon with how it's got a renewed for season 3.
Has Taika come back to direct or write on any of the episodes?
Nah, it's mainly Jermaine's baby. The funny story behind it is Taika got asked to do the show. He said, yeah, sure, without asking Jermaine. He went and told Jermaine. Jermaine was like, okay, I'll only do it if you do it. Next minute, before they even got started, Taika got to do Thor Ragnarok. not for the Wilder people. And he left most of the writing and stuff to Jermaine. And in season 1, he directed 3 episodes, and he's more of an executive producer for season 2 because it's his idea. But,
yeah, I'd like to see that, to see how it kind of compares to the movie.
It has a massive celebrity following, actually, too. Mark Hamill was in one of the previous episodes, and I won't spoil it, but in season 1, there's this cameo galore in one of the episodes, and there's 2 episodes left in this season, and we've been promised and are expecting another huge cameo galore. So we don't know. I don't know what to expect, but it's probably going to be huge. Just like, Donald Trump says, huge.
It's amazing. It's amazing how popular it is with the American audience, because the movie was originally it was a New Zealand film and it was massive here, but like Taika's content has blown up, especially around the world, and I know you said this, the Americans love that show in particular. They indulge it.
Yeah. Go and watch it right now. Turn this off. Yeah. Go and watch it right now.
Stuff, eh?
Probably after the podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. After the podcast, Dingo, wash yourself.
Ravi, what have you been watching recently?
I've been watching The Office. I've been watching the last season, season 9, the last 3 episodes. And I think we had a chat like about a week ago, and I was like down to the last 3 episodes, and I was telling you guys about how emotional it was, just like living out those 3 episodes. And I still haven't got over it. And in fact, what we're going to talk about later was the only thing I've seen since I watched the series finale, because it kind of felt like Endgame for me. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, because you guys have all seen it, but it felt like Endgame. It was like a great ending. It was everything you wanted and so much more. How did you guys experience this, I guess, the series finale or the countdown to the end? How did you guys find that?
Sounding a bit emotional, bro.
Yeah.
Hey,
I was going to say that, a week or 2 after Ravi finished this finale, he went into a deep slump of self-reflection and.
It was quite a good development for him, because I think he's now a better person.
And now he works in an office. I really liked the finale. The finale is one of my favorite episodes of The Office. I feel like the first 5 seasons are my favorite Office episodes. I think, and partially that is because I just really enjoyed the dynamic when Michael was the manager, when he spoilers, there's gonna be some spoilers for The Office, and I'll put some timestamps in the description for where to skip to if I'm not gonna spoil the entirety of The Office, but I'm gonna say that at season 5 ish, I think Michael leaves The Office. Season 7, is it? Okay, that's a bit later than I thought. So it kind of started to dwindle in quality, I feel, once he left, because I didn't feel like the supporting characters, even though I love Andy Bernard, but the dynamic of him as the manager, it didn't seem to hold up as much for me. But I felt like the finale was actually a massive turnaround and one of the best episodes in the whole thing. That was my opinion about it.
I totally agree, and I think it was so weird, because now, 7 years later, the show's already finished. If you didn't know, finished 2013, but it's this massive thing that is so big in Netflix in the States, and it's so sad to hear that Steve Carell actually wanted to stay on the show, but NBC at the time just wouldn't. They didn't front up on their end, so it's sad to see that he left. But the way he left was so emotional as well. If you know that episode, Goodbye Michael Scott. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been watching The Office, and I don't know what to watch after The Office, so I think what I watched after was quite great. I've been watching a lot of behind the scenes stuff as well, so I've been going through deleted scenes. Julius recommended the bloopers, I'm excited for it. I'm also excited for Space Office, which I hope is completely different. I thought I'll bring this up because I know that a lot of people are talking about it. I don't personally want them to reboot the show, but would you guys be up for a reunion special, if they had the good writers, if they brought the writers back, brought back Greg Daniels, Michael Shea, do you reckon they should do a reunion special, or do you reckon the finale was justice for that show?
I'm of that boat. If the story ended well and it was satisfying, and the characters, if they don't need to come back, then I think, I'd rather leave it where it was because it was such a high. It's like the same thing with Friends. Like, people have been wanting a Friends reunion for quite some time. I don't see why there should be another season after the characters met. Maybe like a one-off.
Kind of. It would be impossible as well. It's sort of like asking for a new season of Community because, which I would love. I want a Community movie so bad, but it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Tom, what have you been watching?
Yeah, I've just been watching Vikings, the TV series. Yeah, I'm in like the 4th season now. I've just been binge watching it. Yeah, enjoying it. It's good. It's the first TV show I've watched in a long time. So it's pretty good.
Is it an exciting show? What's the kind of vibe of the show and the atmosphere? Because I haven't watched any Vikings. What do you feel about like when you watch the show?
It's pretty cool, Like it's different from Game of Thrones. The reason like I haven't watched a TV show in ages is because I like really enjoyed Game of Thrones and then was quite badly burned at the end of it when it sucked. Don't watch it. Don't even need spoiler alerts. Yeah, just don't watch Game of Thrones or just stop at like season 7, 6.5. Yeah, season 1. If you want to watch one great season 1.
Will you watch the prequels if they? Because I know the thing about doing prequel content for Game of Thrones.
Possibly, yeah. It depends because I feel like the best parts about it were the parts that George R. R. Martin had written. So yeah, maybe it'll only be good if it's stuff that he's written. Yeah.
Why do you set yourself up to be disappointed?
I know, right? Yeah, that's why I didn't. That's why I haven't watched TV shows because I just don't want to set myself up to be disappointed with another stink show.
The answer is not to stop watching TV shows. The answer is just to watch the right ones.
Yeah, like What We Do in the Shadows.
I'd already watched. I think, What We Do in the Shadows is probably going to be my next one. I'd watched The Office, so I went through the little roller coaster Ravi's going through at the moment. It's a good time, especially when you binge watch it. I find because you've like so much of your life is given over to like these 9 seasons of this TV show, and then it ends and they're gone. And I think that's why Ravi wants to know if anyone else wants a reboot. He just wants more content. He wants them to come back. He just wants to get the gang back together and let's have a party, guys.
Yeah, he's trying to. It's I think going through the steps of denial, and then bargaining.
Knowing you have a problem is the first step.
I haven't looked up Viking stuff at all, but it's like my phone just knows that I've been watching it, but it's dumb because things in like my Google Chrome on my phone will just like suggest random articles and it'll be like massive spoilers that'll pop up, but it spoils it like in time. Like last week I got a spoiler for something that happens in season 3 and I was like, what the heck? And then this morning I was just on my phone and I opened up Chrome and it was just like, oh, this is something bad that happens when this person dies, and I'm like, why is it doing this to me? I'm hating it. Yeah.
Have you seen the episode where that character dies?
Yeah. Well, Google Chrome told me about it, so it's fine. Yeah.
So we're going to move on to our movie of the fortnight. There's so the thing is that Halfcast Moviecast podcast is sort of like a book club, but for movies, where one of us chooses a movie that the rest of us watch, and then we kind of discuss it. And this movie is going to be handled by Julius. He's going to be hosting us.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. Hey, ho. Okay, our film for this week is Rashomon. It's a movie directed by Akira Kurosawa, one of the great grandmasters of film. It was a much-lauded film. In the 70 years it's been around, it's made tons of best lists, hundreds of top 10 lists. Rashomon, basically, it's a film about different accounts of the rape and murder provided by 4 different people. Rashomon itself is the name of these ruins. It's a gate where all of this is being discussed by 2 different characters. Before we as we get into it, I just want to know what's your guys' initial thoughts after watching the film. We'll go with you, Binti.
Yeah, I mean, the description on Amazon said it's a riveting psychological thriller that investigates the nature of truth and the meaning of justice. And I started watching on the public domain website that it was hosted on, but it was quite blurry. So I actually went on Amazon and I rented it for $5, and it was in much higher quality. Yeah, it was quite an interesting watch.
Nice. Yeah, I quite enjoyed today. I was a little bit different, I suppose. This isn't too spoilery, but yeah, I had that feeling that I had at the start of Endgame when they just right at the start they go and they kill Thanos and you're like, oh, what next? I was like, well, we've got the whole story, and then yeah, there's just more story, and I liked that.
So this is the first film of the director that I've seen. And going into it, I was like, oh, it's a black and white film. So I kind of had a chat to Julius about it prior to seeing it, and I was like, well, the last black and white film I've seen was 12 Angry Men, and he kind of said, well, 12 Angry Men took inspiration from this. I liked it. I thought it was cool. It felt like a murder mystery to me, kind of like kept you on your toes the whole time, and there's different accounts to what happened, what unfolded, and so I liked it. I liked the different perspectives of it. It's awesome watching it in 2020, 70 years later.
It's crazy, yeah, 70 years.
Yeah, nice.
One
it
thing
was
I
surprising
will
how much
say
it held up. Sorry.
You can edit this in. Spoilers for Endgame, because I realized I put an Endgame spoiler in my thing. You just edit that and put that in front of it, and then, yeah.
Nice.
I'm not sure I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I know, right? Yeah, why are you listening to this podcast? You haven't seen the Endgame yet.
Positives for me, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit. I like the suspense of the film, which came about with the music. I love the music, the actual composition for it, and it kind of made you feel like something bad was going to happen, or something was going to happen to the character, so you're always on your toes. I love the transition shots, especially when it came to like the different accounts, because you see like the characters like moving from place to place, like that was cool. And I think this movie, I'm not sure if I'm correct in saying this, but I feel like they broke the fourth wall in a sense, because the way they shot the movie, when a person was giving the account, they were looking at the screen the whole time, and they weren't necessarily talking to someone, but they were talking to you.
I did see that. Yeah.
Take that, Deadpool.
Deadpool, you're not original.
Was there any negatives?
Can I get into some spoilers for my negatives, if that's possible? Like, I'll go light spoilers. But one of my negatives was I was kind of confused whether there was a time jump in between when the events took place that the accounts were given to, and that specific setting where they were telling the stories. But also, my negative was also for one of the accounts. There's a character which we call the woodcutter, who gives two accounts, and the second account they gave I kind of found as negative because you didn't really see him on screen. So
I think for now, what I'll say is that spoiler alert from now on. If you haven't watched the film Rashomon, which I mean I was about to say 50 years old. I make this mistake all the time, as if we're living in the year 2000. 70 years old. We're already 20 years into this new century. That's crazy. It's 70 years old. So, I mean, I'm a stickler for spoiler alerts. If you haven't seen the 70-year-old black and white movie, then go see it now. Go ahead, watch it, come back, and we're just going to discuss full spoilers from here on out.
I do have to say, for a black and white film that was set in the 1950s, I thought was the duration of the film was pretty good. It wasn't like a 3-hour film that I would have expected. It was like hour and a half film, maybe less than that.
Even less, yeah. It's like 87 minutes or something like that.
Which is like a positive in a sense, because I don't know if that is. Yeah, I think that was positive. The plot point I was talking about that I felt like that there might have been a time jump is that in the end you see a baby, and my assumption is that the baby was the result of the rape that took place, and I don't know if that's what you guys concluded, but I just felt like, I don't know if that was where the director or the writer was going with it, but I just felt like there was a time jump between when the events took place and when we get to the present day when they're telling the stories, and maybe the baby was in relation to what had happened. So I was kind of confused in that front.
But he does say it was 3 days ago, right?
Yeah, it was close. Like it wasn't like a time.
Unless it's a 3-day baby, they've had those before.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing as you. It wasn't. There was no time jump. It was. And the director himself said that baby was more a symbol for the themes that was going on through the whole film.
Like, I think there are parallels there, like between there being a newborn baby and the rape having occurred and stuff like that. So I think they are related in theme, but like, yeah, I don't think it's the actual baby that resulted from it. But I think
the only assumption I made of that was because the baby was kind of wrapped and it had like some kind of like clothing around it, and it was like I think the priest of the woodcutter talks about how there's like the mum, whoever gave up the baby, left something to kind of protect them, and I assumed maybe that was just the woman involved in the story. But like I said, I was only after my first screening.
Yeah, I quite liked it. It was a good time. I like when movies make me say, what the heck? Which I said a lot during the movie, especially when everyone kept coming in with their different accounts. It was just more like, none of this is lining up, which is quite enjoyable.
They've actually called it the Rashomon effect.
Yeah.
That they've named it after the movie, when eyewitnesses have unreliable testimonies.
Different accounts of the same event, hey? So yeah, it was really good, and that was sort of one of the things I liked about it. I quite liked how Ravi sort of brought up the fourth wall breaking thing. It was like they were like testifying to a judge or something, and that was kind of the role that we had in like witnessing their accounts and then sort of judging for ourselves, like who's right and wrong and like what really happened. And I kind of like that it didn't like finish the movie with a big resolution like here's what really happened. It was sort of all still kind of left up in the air, like you don't know if anyone really is telling the truth or lying through the whole thing. So it's it was a good time.
Akira Kurosawa was real persistent in that he didn't want to add a judge or jury because he wanted to give the audience that job. And the fact you guys brought that up, it's pretty good.
Yes.
Any negative stuff?
I feel like they probably wouldn't have got away nowadays with how like loosely they handled the rape. It was just like, yeah, the rape happened, and then it was just like, yeah, it was part of everyone's story. Like, yeah, the rape definitely happened, and it was just like, so yeah, did this happen, then the rape, and this one, and this one, and it's just like another loose thing, like just throw it into it. Yeah.
I know I've got my turn, but I would like to talk on that. Like, there were a few moments where it's like, yeah, you can never trust women. And the other guy's like, I agree.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then I think later on in the movie, they sort of reversed that. But like, I found it funny. I was like, is this like 1950s thinking, or is it being progressive?
Yeah. It's like,
the fact that they were hyperbolic in their reaction to some of the rape stuff. I think just context is key here. In 10th century Japan, a woman was more looked at as a prize than a human being, sort of like...
I think that's what I was trying to kind of separate. Like, I know that in the 10th century Japan, this is this might be more like normal for a jury to accept or something, but does the way that it's shot and stuff reflect some commentary that Akira's trying to say?
I like the discussion because Japan coming out of the war in the 50s, there was still a lot of sort of chaos going on.
I do have to say, I think that he did kind of take out that part of the film. We didn't actually see the events unfolding of the rape. It was kind of cut out, but you just assume something bad happened, and I thought that was cool because it's such a sensitive topic. That was kind of one of the jarring moments. You kind of realize what happened.
No, yeah, I don't think they would have allowed that in the 50s anyway.
Yeah,
with films.
Especially studios.
Like, I was actually sometimes surprised at what they allowed. I don't know what the kind of like environment is in the 50s, but I think it's educating me a bit more about what's kind of permissible in 50s film and stuff as well. But I must say that when I came into this, I didn't know what I was expecting. For some reason, I was thinking I was going into like a war film or something, and then was kind of surprised when they had like an extended 10-minute scene at the beginning that was just like 3 characters talking. It had that sort of fable quality to it, which was like they don't have names. I think they were just like the woodcutter, the priest, the commoner. There's like, they don't have names like John or Ben, especially in Japan, but like some really cool lines, like from especially during when they cut back and forth. I felt it was more engaging when they cut back and forth more often, like when one of them says, the more I hear, the more confused I get. And then another one says, women use their tails to fool themselves, paraphrased. So it's like, and then the priest says, but dead men don't lie. Like, there's like little lines here that are like revealing their interiority and stuff. It was quite thrilling, but I must say there were negatives. I felt the voiceover for the medium was pretty bad. It was like some weird pitchy kind of stuff, and the effects of the wind were unintentionally hilarious at times. She's like, like all this kind of stuff, and I just felt I was laughing more than being kind of transported into it. So that's kind of an aging thing. Overall, I sort of enjoyed it though, and it was a bit too on the nose and a bit cheesy sometimes. At times, I felt.
Oh well, man, I'm just glad you guys liked it. Come on, somebody. My positives is basically everything you guys said. I think it's one of the only films that I can sit through and the whole movie is lying to me. It's the first. I think it's the movie with the first use of flashbacks that disagreed about the action that they were flashing back to. I just the whole idea of Rashomon to me, I really love, and I love the shots that Akira uses. More and more I watch it, I'm like, man, this is incredible. Like, I think he's real smart filming in the jungle. I think a lot of things is hidden. Imagine all of the stories taking place in an open space. I think the only thing that I felt were negatives was I think the same as Benny, some things doesn't age well. The wife's story isn't believable to me. Like, she fell asleep and he's died. And I think the hyperbolic reaction to the story in the beginning, like, I'm on and off about it every now and then. Like, sometimes I like it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, there's dead bodies all over the place. They say this story is, they don't understand. But, it's 10th century Japan, so I let it pass.
Yeah. Since Benny brought it up, I thought that the medium scene felt like either a horror or a comedy. Because it's like changed the tone of the film altogether. Yeah. Like, you're like, the storytelling, you're like, what the heck is going on? They're all supernatural for a second.
I felt like it did trend towards horror towards the end. Like a thriller, horror, and there was some form of like supernatural force, for example, corrupting. The wife said there was some sort of supernatural force that was corrupting her to kill her husband, or like it felt like that with the cinematography and the surreal nature, that there was some form of spiritual kind of thing going on there.
Right. I felt the vibes from her, particularly when it comes to that spiritual side of things, is the fact that she could, use the medium to bring her husband back to life and stuff like that.
And it's normal, and like if you watch a lot of more Japanese films around that time, that sort of spirituality is real, like, prominent. I think in the original 13 Assassins that was released in like the 50s, 60s, not the remake by Takeshi Miike, but the original, there's a whole subplot about a demon. You become a demon by eating an undead feces or baby. Like, it's not feces, but like
undead species.
Undead species.
No, I thought you said eating an undead feces.
Yeah,
that's what you said. But I was like, I wanted to catch myself, and I was like, that's too late. It's out there.
It's out there. Julius, talking about eating undead feces.
Why does it even work?
But what is an alive feces?
I'll show you.
Okay, next part of our discussion is going through each of our stories. There's 4 stories, and each of us would have a story each. The first one is the bandit. So, Ravi, that's you. You want to talk about the bandit story and why you think it's true?
Yeah. So the bandit story is basically you kind of open scene. You see him like lying by a tree. So he starts chasing after them. Ends up tying him up. Comes back, takes the wife to the husband, and the wife finds out that he has tied up the husband, and he ends up seducing the wife because the bandit doesn't want to kill the husband, but his wife says, well, I can't be attached to 2 of you guys. You have to kill the husband to keep me. And so the bandit does kill the husband in this instance. I'm not sure if I'm counting this correctly, but he doesn't just kill him. He gives him the opportunity to fight.
Says they clash their swords 23 times. He makes himself sound honorable, like that.
He says, like, no one survived more than 20 whacks with me.
More than 20 slashes.
And he's like, this one was 23. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he presumes himself as a skilled fighter. But, carry on.
I have to say the bandit is the only person in the whole movie that has a name associated. Like, he's known for this as being this notorious person. Like, everyone kind of knows his name. And he actually gets captured when he gives his account. He gets captured by a man. The bandit ends up killing the husband, according to his story. I think his story is believable. I'm not sure about you guys, but his story is quite similar to I'm not sure about the husband story, but his story is quite believable to the woodcutter's second story.
Yeah,
that's why, and it has like really similar beats to it. Yeah, so I think his story is believable. I think he didn't want to kill the husband. His laugh is very distinguishable, I have to say. And the person that hears the story does the same laugh, and like even the wife does the same. There's something about his laugh that's quite menacing. I don't
maniacal.
know. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
sort
there's
of,
three characters that use it.
That's how they laugh in 10th century Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It feels. I'd say it
yeah.
feels it's like a sort of release. Like it's always used as a release of energy. Especially with the woman's case, she goes into a maniacal. It's sort of like a power play. I felt a lot of this, like especially with the woodcutter's story, it was like almost like a struggle for power, like a dynamic of power. Because at the beginning, it's like I have the power, I'm the bandit, and every story told is sort of like told from the perspective. The bandit tells it where he's in power, the white, and they make themselves look good, sort of thing. And that's why when I feel the woodcutter does his story, it's more like an unbiased kind of, like the fight in the woodcutter's story is so much less epic, like less, like they run away from each other, they're like being cowardly, they struggle on the ground, they bite, they like run away more often than they're clashing. So I felt like the bandit was like giving a story like, I gave up this epic fight, whereas the woodcutter's story was more like a pitiful struggle. Doesn't like give like a sanitized version of what she actually went through.
Talking about the wife, I got the wife's tale. Her name was Masako. In the court, she claims that the bandit's seduction was actually, in fact, rape. She went to her husband to ask for forgiveness, but she just got, like cold shoulder, and her husband's reaction is not pity, but like cold hatred of her. So it's like
he stares her down, like
yeah. So he obviously blames her for the
that was the supernatural. It was like he was staring at her, and she's like, "Don't look at me like that! Don't look at me like that!" Like it was like some dramatic kind of stare down.
It's hard to argue her point, but I'm trying my best. After she faints, she sees a dagger. But why would she lie about the dagger? Which is another one of those coming back out. So she's lying. So she was the hardest one for me. At the end of the day, the only thing I could come up with was she fainted, and then maybe the woodcutter came, killed him, took the dagger after she kept it. That's not real. It's not plausible.
Didn't she have the dagger in her hand when she fainted? She fainted forward, right?
Yeah.
She said
she said she did.
Yeah. The thing that I would argue for her story is that it felt to me very spiritual. So it was almost as if the omens dictated whatever, that she would be hypnotized by his look because of their, unique relationship. I think it sets that up. Yeah, it sets up the spiritual precedent, but I think it also sets up the precedent that not all of these accounts are going to be reliable. So this is the first time I think we hear the bandit story and we're like, oh yeah, that happened. And then we hear the wife's story, and then I think it's a little bit purposely kind of unbelievable, I think, so that you'll be like, wait a minute. No, that didn't. Okay, what happened here? So I think that's part of its function.
The one thing I asked all about all these characters, what do they have to gain? And when I look at the bandit, I'm like, he's already a wanted criminal. So should he try and exonerate himself? Like we learn in the game, he stands to gain nothing by arguing his innocence. He's a criminal. Like he lies not to conceal his guilt, but to be the hero in his own drama, which is why I don't think he's telling the truth. Tom, you want to chat about that before we finish up?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're stealing the stuff I sent to your messenger. So the woodcutter's story is that this is after the trial has happened. The woodcutter is telling the other guy that showed up to Rashomon, the gate, he's saying, well, that's not really what happened. What really happened, he says he witnessed the rape, and then the bandit was begging the wife, and she says, like, oh no, you gotta get rid of my husband first, and she cuts the husband free, that's right. And then the husband's like, no, I don't want to fight for a soiled woman, and she has a big hissy fit, and tells them that if they really wanted her, then they'd fight for her, and that's when they go and have a big fight, and she kind of gets all scared. Sort of luckily, the bandit manages to get his sword. The other guy's one stuck in a tree, and then the bandit throws the sword, and then the woman runs away, and the bandit steals the samurai's sword and walks off. And that's the woodcutter's version of the story. And yeah, I suppose it seemed more realistic because I feel like the bandit's lie, to me at least, was that he was like an amazing fighter, which sort of shows in this thing that he really wasn't. I think the wife killed him while they were fighting. And that's sort of what makes the most sense to me, because the bandit sort of lies saying that he was like an amazing fighter, and so he killed the guy because he's the amazing fighter, so surely he would have done it. And I reckon the husband would have lied, saying that it was like he killed himself because he doesn't want to admit that he died from a woman in 10th century Japan. And I reckon the woodcutter was lying because I think the wife would have killed them while they were flailing around and failing at their fight. And the woodcutter lied about that because he stole the knife.
Yeah, he stole the dagger, didn't he?
And so that was what I think happened.
I agree with you. I think woodcutter is closest to the truth than probably most of them.
Yeah.
Only in that I think the only reason why he lied was to cover his thievery.
That's why he kept saying like, no, he died from a sword. It wasn't a knife. It was a sword. Definitely, no, there's no knife. It's like, you're saying that a lot, bro.
Yeah, right. I'm just gonna add one more thing. That kind of when he stole the dagger, then lied about it. What I felt about the whole thing was that it had this undercurrent of like, everyone's just in it for their own self-interest sort of thing.
Yeah,
and they will provide a story. I felt like it was underscored by their own motivations of self-interest and stuff, and that they were entirely kind of just fabricating stories based on, what made them look good. And even in the end, when the woodcutter like went to take the baby, that was kind of like, and then the priest was like, the monk was like, "Oh, you have 6 children, you're adding one more? What a good man, you have restored my faith in humanity." Yeah. And the woodcutter's just like, "Yes." And like, it was like a real bitter like ending, like,
yeah.
We know that maybe everyone's just in it for self-interest, and he wants to preserve the lie that people aren't.
I used to look at the end. A lot of people talk about the ending is real, just like it doesn't fit because it's, the whole movie is all about lying. I'll finish off with this before we go on the grades. In his book, Akira talks about what a lot of our modern directors still use to this day. People like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. His line was, "Human beings are unable to be honest with themselves, about themselves. They cannot talk about themselves without embellishment. It's human nature to listen to witness and decide who's telling truth." But, I like the fact that Akira gave it away in his first line of dialogue. He's like, "Oh, man, I just don't understand." And with that, We'll get on to our grades. Benny, we'll start with Tom. Tom, you want to start off with your grades and wrap up?
7.23 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
1.23. Wow.
Yeah. I like movies.
Great movie altogether. I like how we end with not knowing who the real person who did it, or like the real story is, but like it focuses a lot more on the theme. Great movie. I would probably watch it again. Yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
I recognize that it's quite influential, and that a lot of its ideas have kind of disseminated into like a lot of other films, but I found like there were a lot of things that drew it back for me, including pacing and the interesting nature of what happened throughout. I felt like it could have been more kind of interesting throughout. I feel I think the third act was my favorite, but the story, it seemed like it was more in a short story format. Kind of, it probably was more effective back in its time, but for me it kind of lacked some of that impact that it might have had to initial audiences. To rate my enjoyment of it out of 10, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Nice. I'll give it an 8. I love it. I still watch it to this day. I think it's because I watched it in high school, and it was one of the first films I watched that wasn't a blockbuster. So it held a dear place in my heart. Heart. And I always dream about it when I fart.
I will say that my mic cut out there. I will say that my opinion of the film will probably improve on like further watches. I feel like this is that kind of film.
Oh, nice.
Right. It is Ravi. Ravi, what is our movie for next episode?
So this came. There was a lot of debating. I had 2 films in mind that I kind of went back and forth on, but we're gonna take it up a notch. We're gonna take it up. This is a movie by a director who I really like. And this is a film before he became big. This stars the likes of Ryan Wilson from The Office, Ellen Page, Liv Tyler. This is a movie called Super.
Yes.
We're going to watch this movie. I haven't seen it yet, and I heard, I first heard about it on Collider's. Shout out to Collider's top superhero movies of all time. Heard about it, I haven't seen it. It's starring Ryan Wilson, who does great as Dwight Schrute in The Office, and I want to see James Gunn's take on this kind of an indie film before he went on to the Guardians. I'm excited to see it.
You, sir.
No, it's good.
Nice.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna say Juno. That's why I got excited. But it's it's Super.
Wait, it's Liv Tyler in that movie. Juno's a great movie as well.
But Super, I haven't seen Super, so that's even better. I've seen Juno, I haven't seen Super. So
sorry, I've seen Super.
That's good. Watch it.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't though, so I can sound smart when I talk about it.
No,
sorry, I've seen Juno.
And on that note, we are going to finish the podcast. This has been the Half-Cast Movie Cast podcast. Send your questions in, actually, and we'll answer them at the end of the podcast. But for now, we are out. Bye, everyone.